Good morning. We are going to come to you live in just a moment with Amy Johnson at the Bentonville Film Festival in Bentonville, Arkansas. I'm going to hand things over to her, and she's down on the street there, and she's going to open up our webinar today. This is our spotlight on her, featuring our special guest, Margaret Lake, who we'll introduce momentarily, but we're going to get things started and see how our newscasting efforts go. I'm going to flip it down here to Amy Johnson, who is live at Bentonville Film Festival. Let's see if we can pick her up right now. There she is. Amy.
Hi, can you guys see me? Hi.
We can see you. How are you?
Oh, good. I'm good. Just walking around. It's a nice day out here in Bentonville. I'm currently at the 21C Hotel, which is one of our venues out here at the Bentonville Film Festival. I'm going to walk over. There's a section of the hotel that's being used for a theater, actually. So they're doing some screenings of some films there. And then our box office, I think you can see behind me, there's a little sign back there, but I'm walking away from where the box office is. But yeah, currently I'm at the Bentonville Film Festival, which is in Bentonville, Arkansas, Northwest Arkansas.
Uh-oh, Amy, you're breaking up a little bit. Maybe the spot you're in, you've got some sketchy service there. Hopefully we'll pick you right back up in a second.
Oh, can you not hear me anymore?
Amy? Yeah, you got all broke up there. Your signal was bad.
Sorry.
And your face turned to mush. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll stick around here then, I suppose. You can kind of see some of the stuff getting set up behind me, but I'll stick around here. But again, I don't know if you heard me, but I'm at the Bentonville Film Festival. I'm at the Bentonville Film Festival, celebrating women, directors, screenwriters, all sorts of underrepresented voices in the entertainment industry. So there's lots of films every day. There's multiple venues. I think we have 17. All in the downtown Bentonville area, some that are not normally used for film screenings. So for example, like I said, the hotel that we're at here, we have a room here that's being used for screenings. A couple of other places. We actually have, I'm going to try to hit you guys up on the end of the webinar, but I want to show you, they're called the Cinetransformers, and they're portable theaters to view films in. So those are pretty awesome. So I want to try to show you guys those at the end of the webinar here today. But again, awesome to be out here in Bentonville, Arkansas. Oh, here's some dogs in a truck, if you can see behind me. There they go.
Hi, tell us why is the festival in Bentonville, Arkansas, of all places to host a film festival? Tell us a little bit about why it's actually hosted there.
You know what? I'm not sure. Do you know something I don't know? Because I don't know that.
I probably do. So Bentonville is the national headquarters of Walmart. And Walmart, as part of their diversity initiatives, is one of the main sponsors of the Bentonville Film Festival. So that is why it's there. And as you know, this is what, your second or third time traveling down there?
Yes.
Yeah.
My second.
You know, and I have to admit, I was, when I first found out about the festival, I was like, Walmart is not necessarily known or thought of as, you know, being super active in diversity initiatives. And I was pleasantly surprised to find out that they actually have a lot going on, and really, really thrilled that they are sponsoring this. I'm not aware of other film festivals that quite do the women in diversity the way they did. I know that last year I was there and watched the closing ceremonies and pretty much cried through the whole thing, just seeing the emotional. So are you feeling some of that down there as the films start the showing? Do you kind of feel an emotion that you maybe don't at other film festivals, Amy?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, people are, one of the main ways you can definitely feel that is people are very quick to tell you how far they've driven to experience something like this. And that just goes to show you how important it is to a lot of folks. We've had people from Tennessee, Texas, Missouri, all sorts of, well, we're from Arizona. People love hearing that's how far we've traveled, but people are traveling from all across the South and all across the country. But yeah, as everything's getting started, This is pretty much the first full day. The opening ceremonies were last night, kind of late in the evening. But as folks start to arrive and get set up, you can see behind me, you can definitely that vibe, that celebration. Last night for the opening ceremony, some of the filmmakers were walking in the press.
So Amy, you're starting to break up a little bit again, but we're going to pick it back up from you. If you can just pass the presentation back over to me. We're going to start our interview here with Margaret Lake.
Sure.
So I'm going to go ahead and take over. Thank you so much. And we're going to pick you up again at the end. If you can get to a spot where you have something additional to show us, we will catch you on the flip side. So thank you so much, Amy, for taking time out of your busy day to do that. And we'll flip back over here. And I will introduce my very special guest today. We're going to wave goodbye to Amy. There she goes. Okay, fantastic. Margaret, can you hear me okay?
I sure can. Hi, Lynn.
Hey, how are you?
I'm awesome. I'm
doing
really
good. Well, fantastic. Well, just to our audience, I'm so excited to be kicking off our Spotlight on Her webinar series. We're going to be doing this podcast style today. We're doing this over the phone. And just by way of introduction, I'm Lynne King Smith, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of TicketForce. And I myself have worked in the entertainment and technology industry, both of which are strongly male-dominated fields. And along the way, I have found many amazing women, and I'm still discovering new friends who not only have survived in those types of careers, but have also thrived. And, you know, getting through the gender bias, the stereotypes, the prejudice in our careers is not easy. And I love talking to those who do it because they have such a wealth of information and great stories to share. So we launched the series back in 2016. And since then, I have been plucked to speak on the topic or host panels or sit on panels on this very topic across several of my industries. And it always packs the room with women, and there's always a handful of caring men in there as well to hear about women's stories in these male-dominated fields. And then we did let the series drop, and as you know, in the last couple of years, a lot has happened, and this topic of women finding empowerment and success and a lot of other things that have not been happy that have kept this topic alive. Just yesterday, I read an article about the culture at Nike, where women were finally starting to speak up about gender bias and even sexual harassment there, which led up to the very quick exit of several key executives. And that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for women and men to find ways to work together and have success together. But I knew over the past several years that we needed to relaunch this series. So we've renamed it to Spotlight on Her. And we're going to do this about every 3 months or so on our webinar series. And our focus is going to be the amazing successes and struggles of women that do function in male-dominated fields who can bring all of us inspiration, realization, and hope for a better future. So today, with the focus on Bentonville Film Festival, which does celebrate women and diversity in film, I'm really, really happy to be joined by our very special guest and my good friend, Margaret Lake. So Margaret, hold on while I give everybody a little bit of your background, because I have trouble keeping up with all the things that you do and know how to do and have done. So here we go. Margaret is a producer. She's a professional fundraiser, a consultant, a public speaker, a published writer, a film programmer, a concert programmer, an on-air radio host. Oh, rodeo. You could do that probably too. And an event producer. Her career started with positions in operations and management with Sundance Film Festival. and then was concurrently hired by the Miami International Film Festival, and as we like to call it, the P-Town International Film Festival, and typically works all three festivals each year. So strong background in exactly what we're doing down there in Bentonville right now. Simultaneously, she procured underwriting contracts, brought in funds, and most notably had the top grossing and top rated show as an on-air radio music host for KRCL 90.9 FM in Salt Lake City. I didn't know you in those days. I wish that I had.
I've got some recordings, so I'll send them to you.
Okay, let's do that. Lake is co-founder of Marwin Films and the Little Big Film Fund, which are spearheading currently several film projects in LA, Minneapolis, Austin, and New York. Her experience with business management, fundraising, sales and marketing, packaging, and writing have equipped her to be equally successful in the independent filmmaking world. She is currently the producer of White Woke, a new podcast featuring Dr. Caroline Heldman and Dr. Kathleen Tarr. I'm super excited about that. And also completely jealous of the fact that you live in Santa Barbara, California, which, you know, I managed to find my way out there as often as I possibly can. So Margaret, welcome. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you.
And I can't think of a better person to kick off this series with than you. So
I'm absolutely honored to be here, and it's sort of funny that we're ending up this bio with this podcast, White Woke, with Dr. Caroline Heldman and Dr. Kathleen Tarr, because Dina Davis, who many people know, was sort of the spearheaded partner of the Bentonville Film Festival.
Right.
Had an event just last week where Dr. Caroline Heldman was one of the featured speakers. So it's a very small, tight little world here, and I'm fortunate to be associated with the two of them. And obviously, just so people out there know, Lynn has been one of my mentors, my friends, my partners in crime, and it's really important to be associated with, you know, like-minded people. And I think what I've learned over the years is that, you know, women really need to bond together instead of thinking there's, you know, one piece of a pie that has a woman's name on it and we've all got to, you know, climb on each other to get that, because it's just not that way. And I've been really fortunate to have not only professional support from Lynn, but support on a very personal level. And I'm just really happy to be here today and talk about things that we're both doing to tip that needle and to change the world.
Yep. Well, let's go then. And you know what? Your bio gave a lot of info on what you're up to, because I never know. And every time I see you or we talk, I'm like, what are you working on now? So I do want to make sure we have time to hear about your latest film venture and also your podcast. Do you want to hit those a little bit now in more detail?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I was thinking, you know, I was thinking about, you know, what to say, because it's true. I often feel like I'm spinning a lot of plates on a stage and I forget to, you know, talk about it with the outside world. But I mean, just from January, I'm actually ghostwriting a book for a client. I ended up at Sundance for 2 weeks. I ended up at the Spirit Awards. I've been to the Provincetown Women's Media Summit and Film Finance Forum. I would say that my focus in the last year has been to put together a film fund and production company, Marwin Films and the Little Big Film Fund, with my partner, Edwin Charlo. He's in Miami. And basically what happened is, after, you know, a long career in the theater world, which I'll go into in a minute, and after our current 45th disaster at the helm, I decided that it was really important to look at the voices of people who were not typically able to get funding to have their stories told. I really believe that right now the headliner in our consciousness currency is film and television. And if we don't alter that
interesting
content, then, we are not going to be able to change our own consciousness. Long story longer, I think that in founding Marwin and the Little Big Film Fund, it's basically a fund that is going to put together a series of films that are either about women of color, women, disadvantaged, people that normally have marginalized voices either in front of or behind the camera. We have some really strict measurements for ourselves that we've worked out with, women in film, the Gina Davis Institute, Kathleen Tarr, Caroline Heldman, to ensure that we can put better content into the market. So recently we've just had a pretty big break that I don't want to jinx it, so I'm not going to, let's just say in the next few months, we're going to be rolling out something pretty big, and I'm really proud of the funds that we're raising and the projects that we're going to be doing. So in the next year, you're going to be hearing a lot more about what it is that we're going to be doing.
Nice.
But I want to go back a little bit to my film festival days. I literally started my career because I was in college and I was working at a coffee shop, and there was this Sundance Film Festival going on across the street, and I guess a bunch of volunteers had bagged out, and this guy came over and said, "Hey, can you help out?" And I looked at him and I sort of looked across the street and I thought, there is nothing more that I want to do than to watch free movies, and they also give you a free winter coat.
It's amazing.
So I literally started volunteering at the Sundance Film Festival, and I ended up, being raised by an artist and a writer. I learned how to organize creative people, and I moved my way up to the top of operations at Sundance, and then I started fundraising for a film festival, throwing Twilight concert series, fundraising for the Utah Federation for Youth, working with writing operations manuals, and that sort of took me to Miami and to Provincetown. And so I was working film festivals all over the country, running concert series, and I was fascinated with ticketing, which we'll get to the place where I met Lynne.
It is a fascinating world, and I'm sure you've got a lot of people listening.
To be. No, it's sort of my.
Think it's the best. The best thing.
it's my secret obsession that I have no public business being in, but we'll talk about that later. Anyway,
everybody's a hero there. In my mind, my clients are the unsung heroes. Everybody in the box office, as we know, with ticketing, nobody thinks about it until it doesn't work or something doesn't go right, and then they want to know, where are the ticketing people?
I would say it's probably, I mean, it's one of the higher pressure jobs that's a little bit thankless. I mean, I would say that it's, it's a venue's front facing, it's the customer's first interface with the venue, so it's incredibly important. I mean,
right. Well, and in film,
get into that. Go ahead.
In film, you've got the producers and the directors that, very few of us can list that many producers and directors. You've got to really get to a stature in that role when you're actually making things happen. Who we do know are the actors, right? So it's the same. It's kind of the same thing.
It is. It's the same on the other side. It's the people that actually make things happen. I mean, I think, back to let's go back to where I think where my career really, really changed, and where I really had to deal with some, like, a big jump in my career, I would say, was when I was offered the position by the Miami Parking Authority in the city of Miami to take over the Olympia Theater at the Gusman Center in Miami in 2007.
Right. Which is where I got introduced to you. Yeah.
Exactly. And that was a historic theater that was, for 25 years, trying to be pulled out of it's true, you did hear me correctly, I did say Parking Authority. It was run by the Miami Parking Authority.
Oh, I didn't even question that because I know the story, but those listening, it's a funny story.
They might think it's a little too early for me to be drinking, but I'm not. That was the Parking Authority. There was a gentleman named Colonel Wilson, who was a philanthropist, and he didn't trust the city of Miami. So he had rescued the theater from some financial ruin, and he had told the city of Miami that the only way that he would deed it to the city is if it was run by the Miami Parking Authority. So for years, you can imagine what it was like to have a theater run by a parking authority. I am the magical person that decided to take on this challenge, and I will say it will be a movie at some point. I'm quite certain.
It has to be. I don't know if you know any producers though that could make that happen.
I don't know. There might be a statute of limitations on things that I can and can't talk about, so it might be a couple years from now.
Right.
Anyway, there's this 1926 historic movie palace. It's just a beautiful place, and it was suffering. And basically, over the course of 7 years, I created my own nonprofit with businessmen in the community. We sort of forced the city's hand to give us the income from the low-income housing and the retail to fund the theater, and we turned the operation around. And I remember one time someone said to me, Miss Lake, are you going to be coming back to the city and asking for more money? And I said, are you going to continue to take your 90-year-old grandmother to the doctor until she's dead? And so the answer was yes. And he didn't quite know what to say, I mean,
right.
I think that when you straddle something with a civic responsibility and you prioritize it, the United States has never been very supportive of the arts in the sense of realizing that it's an essential nutrient in the fabric of our psychological diet. And
right.
You look at film festivals like Toronto, where all of the store windows are decked out in popcorn and the government helps pay for it. And I think that what's funny is that what civic-minded people may not understand is that the economic engine of the arts and entertainment are far beyond parking meters or taxes or, I could go on and on about the Americans for the Arts economic, engine calculator, and how putting entertainment not only in, the bottom line financially, it makes sense, but I think culturally, when we look at our cultural output, there was a film, I think it was called Happy, where they talked about the GDH instead of the GDP, which is the gross domestic happiness instead of the gross domestic product. And
right.
I think part of my dream for Marwin is to really kind of maybe up the level of the GDH.
GDH. It'll be interesting to see how we can measure that. But when you were in Miami, you were talking about working with parking authority people. How many women versus men in that world? Is that when you truly got introduced to being the lone woman in the meeting, or the lone woman really getting things done?
I think that there were a lot of women that were not at executive level positions. I remember being at a political fundraiser one time, and I looked around the room and I realized that I was the only woman there that wasn't serving food.
Wow.
And it hit me, and I thought to myself, I can't believe this. And I just had to sort of keep going. It was
You were
it
what,
was a little
in your
bit
30s, young 30s at that time?
Yeah,
that's
I was.
young,
Yeah, I was.
To be in that
position.
position.
I remember being so nervous that I was making conversation with someone that was talking about how they were against gay marriage, which ruffled my feathers a little bit. And I looked at him and I said, why don't you just let people get married so they can be as miserable as the rest of you if you don't like gay people?
And so that's how you did it. You used some humor.
Well, I think you have to go in without fear and be willing to throw a punch just as hard. And I think that that's difficult because I've often had feedback where people have said, well, I don't want a woman to act like a man as a politician. I want her to act like a woman. And I said, well, what is acting like a woman then to you?
Yeah,
is
what
it
is
not
that?
saying, is it not saying anything? Is it not making jokes with you? You know?
Right.
I mean,
right.
I remember being in a situation where a top level executive asked me to come over to his computer and he was watching porn and he's like, check this out. And I just thought it was such a trippy experience because I was thinking to myself, is he like thinks that I'm his bro? Like, is this like, I don't even know where to go with
How does this work? Exactly.
Well, I mean, I just said I'm not, it's sort of like declining, a dish that you're allergic to. I just said,
right.
I'm not really interested, in that, but continue. Yeah. I'll sit on this side of your desk and pretend like I'm taking notes about something that is not this. But regardless, I think for women, we all have this idea that stuff's not going to happen, and it happens all the time everywhere. And I think that for me, I got told to dress sexier, I got told to do this or to do that, and at the end of the day, I think I grew up in Utah. I was so forthright and honest that I think people were sort of afraid of me because they were like, she can't be this honest. Like, what?
You say that and then you laugh, which is well, I know you and that's disarming. You say things that are true and honest, and then you say it with a smile and you laugh, and people can't help but see that and be drawn to that. And knowing you, that's one of your secrets of success. I mean, aside from fortitude and all the other necessary things. Not saying I'm sorry all the time,
Well, I mean, I've noticed I've had to make a conscious effort, speaking of sorry, in emails, if I take a couple days to get back to somebody, instead of saying, I'm sorry, I'm just getting back to you, I say, thank you for your patience in my response.
Yeah, much better.
I was reading, I often read the Huffington Post 20 funniest tweets by women, which I'm a little on the fence about that because it's sort of like, we're not zoo animals,
Right.
It's like, I'm on the fence about it, but I still read it because I think they're really, really funny. And I'm going to butcher it, but there was something about a guy saying that he was oppressed and he wanted to get paid to use his voice. And it said something about a woman, bumping her hip into a shopping cart and saying sorry to it.
Oh yeah, we just had this whole convo this morning because I was at a baseball game last night and I was sitting on the aisle, and which meant I got up about 400 times in nine innings to let people pass. And I started realizing that, and I had a witness as well, that what did the guys say when they walked in front of me? They said what normal humans say. They said, "Excuse me." And what did all the women say when they walked in front of me?
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I was born. I'm sorry that I breathed. You want that?
Sorry,
I
have to use the restroom. I know. So we laugh because that's how we survive. But it's such a foreign language for some people to even understand why we grow up just apologizing for the weirdest stuff. And it just comes out of our mouth way too often. So we had a little go round of that this morning in the office. And I think that's the same story that you read, probably because that was floating around on Twitter this week. So,
well, I think that I've been kind of a tougher, I would say just a tougher individual to deal with on that executive level, because I think there's this expectation when you're a female executive that once you get to the top, you want to stay there. And there's this unspoken understanding that you're not going to rock the boat because you're lucky enough to get there. And I completely disagree with that. And I think many of the companies that have hired me have been startled that I've been so vocal about what we should do. I remember there was some meeting where all of these guys were yelling, and I started yelling, and they looked at me, and they're like, "Why are you yelling?" I'm like, "Because you guys are all yelling." and I'm just trying to fit in with the monkey talk, and they were like looking at me like they were scared. And I just thought to myself, wow, I don't even understand. I think, the first time the first time I dealt with any sexism in a job was I was working at a grocery store in Utah, and I had been at this job for a while, and I'd been in this department for a while, and I said, these guys get like $3-4 an hour more than I do, and I do the same thing, and I actually do it better. And they said, well, you don't have a family to support.
Wow.
And I said, but that doesn't change the actual labor that I'm doing for you. That doesn't change that, And so, I mean, I think from a young age, I was like, wow, there's something a little bit off in the world. But I don't want to
spoke up even then. So that's just part of who you are.
I mean, I actually was so upset. I said, if I need to go buy a dick and put it in my bag, I will. If it's going to get me $3 more an hour. I was very mad.
Margaret, what do you say, though? What do you say to women that somehow don't find that voice in that setting to be able to say, why am I not getting paid the same? Or I'm going to start, I'm going to join the yelling if that's what we're doing in this meeting. What do you say to those women that you meet who don't have that fortitude or can't find that voice?
But even, to caveat it and not to play victim here, but I wouldn't say it's always the most successful route at getting what you would like in this day and age, which is unfortunate.
Right. Yeah.
I would say that I've gotten myself into situations where I had to give things up that I really wanted to do because that little moral compass inside me couldn't do what I was being asked and also have my voice. So I think the question is, I think many women have found their voices. It's just a question of how to ensure that you create support systems around you. I had this idea, I guess, when I was younger, that if you just said the right thing and you told the truth, that everything would work out. And there's a part of me that still believes that deep down. Yeah. But I do think that had I had the knowledge that I have now, I would have been more strategic about how I played the game. I'm not very good at playing the game because I just sort of, it's like if you ask me to plow a road, I'm just going to plow it. I'm not going to, I would have in the past have maybe engaged a lot of support to then, deliver a message. But I think that's one of my gifts is that I just cut straight to it. There are other people that are great political people and that, I would just say that the most important thing is to be true to yourself and to try to find that voice. And now more than ever, there's more women willing to support women and to speak up and say something. And I think that in the past, we haven't had a culture of helping each other as women. And I think that's why my relationship with you has been so critical and so important and such a learning for me, because I haven't had a lot of women reach down or reach aside and support me. So I think what's important is when you're looking for your voice to really, lock arms with a few people and women that are going to be there with you through thick and thin, so that you don't have to take this one risk with your voice that's going to shatter your whole world if it doesn't work out. Or, I think it takes baby steps. I remember being very honest with my mom at like 7, and she says, "Hey, God, you're so intense," and I'm like, I'm 7, and she says,
right,
"I hope you have a kid just like you." And I said, "I do too, Mom."
Yeah. Give me 4 of them.
Yeah. No, so look, I think part of it is, I would say that the guiding force in my life has been my intuition. And I remember so many times, when you're making a business decision or a personal decision about your career, you think about, you talk to all of your friends about it and they all have advice for you. And, people give you advice based on also their own projections, what they have done, what they haven't done. I remember I had just been recruited by the Theater Days Hotel downtown LA. I was just finishing up in Miami, and it was a really big job, and I really needed a break, and I wanted to go to Europe for 3 or 4 months. And so many people said, "Oh my God, you're going to ruin your career. Don't do it. Like, why would you do that?" And I thought, but I can't give this company my best unless I have a break. So I said, I'm happy to do it if you're happy to wait for me for 4 months, and I'll consult in the interim. And I cannot tell you how many women were like, "Why are you ruining your life?" And I realized in that moment that women believed that they had to give up things to get what they wanted, and that a lot of people were just upset that I was smart enough to ask for the time and still believe and risk that I would lose the job, but it was the best thing for me, and I ended up doing it, and I ended up getting the job. I got buried for that. But I also think there's this idea that as women we're like, it's like we're coal miners or mule pack people or something, where we have to do these really difficult things. And it's true, it's for 2,000 years that's been the truth. But I think we owe it to one another to dream a little bigger, to ask for more, to uncover the things that are keeping us voiceless and oppressed.
Right.
And in a society that would certainly like to keep 50% of the wealth on its side. But I feel like I'm going a little bit down a rabbit hole here.
No, I think, I'm looking at one of the questions that I had scripted, to ask you. And it talked about what unique feminine strengths and weaknesses you've used. And you said intuition has guided you. And then really listening to your, to what you need, and for you to take a break at that point in your career that other people thought would, be fatal for you, was actually a very strong move and a very smart move, but it was one that took you listening to what you needed emotionally and physically. I mean, you were exhausted. I knew what you did in Miami and the hours that you worked, and you wouldn't have brought your best to that next gig had you not taken that break.
Not a chance. Not a chance.
Right? Right.
Not a chance.
Right. It was a very tough move to make, but that was you really listening to your strength and believing enough in yourself that you were worth them waiting for. And they did. And I think some people still have, their jaw is just dropping to the floor in that one, because that was, it was the Ace Theater in LA. It was a dreamy job for sure. And you made them wait, which was fantastic. And it could have turned out differently, but that still would have been the right decision. And I think that that's just it. Like, you can take all the data and you can take all the chatter. And I think that, I also think, men have intuition. I think it's a special power. I just think that oftentimes we listen to the majority vote in our lives. It's sort of like, I feel like sometimes, people live their lives like The Price is Right. It's like, are you gonna guess, or are you gonna look to the audience? I don't know. Yeah.
And I think that, but I think I've also gotten better with, when we talk about voice, I've gotten better at using the language that sort of fits that intuition into a very high level executive world. Like, when I know there's something that I shouldn't do at a certain time, and someone says to me, "You need to do that," instead of saying, "Well, my woo-woo intuition says, now's not a good time." Hold on, let me consult
just call
my
it
inner
your gut,
self.
No,
but I've even said to people, "Now's not the time," and then you leave it at that. I think as women, we often feel like we're being interrogated because we are. And so we come up with these incredible explanations. And I remember one day looking at all of my emails and realizing how little men explain things. And then I would just get these reams and reams of emails from women about what was going on in such massive detail. And, and then I realized, and then I read this article about this guy at, I forget what kind of company, and I'm probably going to ruin this, who decided to switch emails with his female coworker. And it was, I think it was a sales or marketing company.
It was in Spain. Right.
Yeah. and he's like, oh my gosh, I know why this woman can't get anything done, because everyone's questioning everything she does, you know? And she was like, wow, when I email people now with this guy's email, they're like, yeah, great, good, done.
Yep.
You know, but I think
it actually
women,
was.
You know,
wow.
I don't want to, you know, I want to talk about how every single man comes from a woman. I just want to say it. So I think as women, we have a responsibility to look at the way that we raise our sons, because at the end of the day, I think that in one generation or two, we could alter this a little bit quicker. And I don't want to, again, it's like, okay, now I'm going to blame women for men. I'm not. Okay.
Right.
I'm just saying that I do think that men would be happier also being in, you know, a more harmonious environment. I mean, I think there are parts of me that are very jaded, and there are parts of me that think, you know, this is just like learning a new skill. This is a skill that some men do not have. So what can women do to educate men, to educate their sons, to educate each other, and to bond together? And I think that when women have this idea of lack, of like, there's only one job at the top, so I've got to like claw my sister down in order to get it, you know, like I saw a lot of that in the companies that I work for. Like, until we stand together, that's going to continue to happen, because we believe in a lack mentality. But I mean, I could go on for days about that too, but I think
you make a good point though. When you said that, you know, you think that men have, you know, there's a lot to learn from women in leadership. It's true. We've been learning from men. That's all we had, right? So, you know, almost every boss I had for the beginning of my career was a man. So I had some fantastic men I worked for and learned a lot from them. And we do. And there's certainly business skills that a lot of them demonstrated for us that were good. But we bring something different to the table in many cases. And I think that, the next generation is lucky to be able to work for a more of a mixed bag with bosses, be it men or women. They've got more to learn than just from one of the genders, you know?
Well, I also think, you know, it's the idea that if somehow you have to report to a woman boss, that it demasculates you somehow. I think that's, you know, I remember being in charge of a few men at one point, and I won't say when or where, but I remember they said to me, a couple of them said to me, you know, when it came down to it and they were being really defiant, and I was really the kind of boss that was like, look, I know that you know what you're doing better than I do. I'm not going to micromanage you. I want you to go do it. But when I have a question about it, or when I need information from you, I expect it. And I also expect that if I'm in charge of this entire umbrella, I'm looking at everything. And if I ask you to do something, I technically shouldn't really have to take the time to explain it to you, even though I will, because I'm making decisions on a very different level, just as a general example. And I remember a couple of times these two guys said to me, you know what, like, that is so lame that you're pulling, you know, because it gets to the point where I'd say, I'm your boss, I need you to do it, you know? And they would say to me, that's so disrespectful. How come you're pulling the boss card? Wow. And I would think to myself, but I am your boss. You would never say that to a guy.
There's not a card.
No, is it? Yeah, I know. Like, I'm like, wait, I'm the whole deck. I'm the whole damn deck, okay? And so I remember thinking to myself, wow, like, I would never say to a guy boss, like, don't pull the boss card on me. Like, I mean, maybe I said it once, but I was in a fight with a guy boss and we were really close friends. But I think that the perceiving that a woman is your boss is a bad thing or a weak thing. It's almost like, you know, in sports when you're a kid and they're like picking teams and, you know, they're like, you know, they say stuff like you throw like a girl or this or that. As if inherently a woman being a boss is like, oh man, I have this lady boss and you know? So
it depends on the industry for sure. And I don't have to think too hard to figure out where you're probably talking about. A couple different places. But
well, it happened a lot. But I remember thinking to myself, I am actually not sure how to deal with this. But I think that it also it messes with your head a little bit, because I think that energetically you have to have this steel confidence, you know,
right,
where you have to look someone in the eye and almost play chicken and say, okay, you know, I'm willing to risk it. I'm in charge here. I've got to drive the boat. This can't be like, oh my gosh. I think one of my favorite lines ever was someone said to me once, well, we've been working on this for a few years, and we brought you in, and we're learning that everything that we did was wrong, and you're changing everything, and it makes us feel bad. And I thought to myself, well, am I here to fix it and to teach you how to do it right and to change the operation to make it work? Or am I here to make you feel better? And I think that sometimes people think that they hire a woman to just make them feel better. I mean, I was happy to have a guy talk about the feels at all. I mean,
the feels,
you know. But
yes.
But I thought to myself, wow, like I'm actually not sure what my job is as a woman. Because if it's not to be the boss, and if it's to make someone feel like, wow, you just, you know, built this entire building and it's going to fall apart like a toothpick house, but I'm going to let you do it so that you feel okay, I'm just not sure where I fit in the world, you know?
It's for sure. Yeah. You know, it brings me to, by the way, this is so fun. Just to, like, we should do this more often, whether or not anybody's listening.
Oh my gosh, the time is flying by. I'm just going on and on.
Zipping.
No, I mean, look,
you know, Margaret and I, you remember where we met, of course, at a round table, that, and you're laughing, because Margaret and I met at a round table for the League of Historic American Theaters, and you signed up for a dinner based on a topic. And I have to be honest, I saw Margaret's name and it was under work-life balance, and I thought, I think you know this is true, because I assumed you were old because of your name.
Listen,
Never.
You know what? Every time someone
you didn't go by Maggie. If you had put Maggie, but Margaret Lake sounded like you were like 72. So I thought, I'm going to sign up for this thing because this woman has the work-life balance thing figured out. This is going to be great. And
because
then
she's
I
72 and she doesn't have a choice. Okay. She can only get through so much. I mean, come on.
Yeah. So I mean, we laugh about that, and the funny thing is, for everybody on that's listening, all women but one gay man came to this thing, and it was like we were just sitting there going, "What is this, a woman's dinner? You know, what is happening?"
Yeah.
And then Alex was there, which was fantastic, and we sat and talked about work-life balance, and that was a lot of years ago, and we laugh about it now, and I write blogs about it. You know, that's my blog is pretty much about trying to figure it out. But
in fairness, I was in way over my head at the time, and I wanted to learn about work-life balance, even though I was put in charge of this panel/dinner. And so I just thought, you know what, I'm gonna put a topic I want to learn about, because I don't have this down, and I know that all these people will be struggling with this, and maybe we can work it out together. But I think the interesting thing, and the fact that it was all women, is that I think that inherently we allow men to have better boundaries at work. Like, oh, I'm done.
I don't know.
You know, it's like, oh.
Or they.
Well, I mean, maybe not in your company. But I'm just saying, like, I've noticed, like, you know, like, let me just say this. It appears to me that men are more comfortable saying, I'm not working past this time today, and feeling okay about it. Whereas I will say something like, well, let me see if I can work it out, move some things around.
Right. I'm really sorry. Got to make a couple calls.
Yeah. Like, I'm like struggling to do this thing. And that's on me, you know, and I'm not sure that's a general problem, but I'm just bringing it up based on the fact that, you know, there were what, 11 or something women and one man at that dinner, you know?
Yeah. It was, I mean, it was comical to say the least. And now we still laugh because I'm not even going to say how many years ago it was, because it was a long time. But, you know, I asked the question of you, what do you do to maintain your sense of humor and your sanity? But I think you've kind of answered that. You know, you're incredibly authentic, and you just do you. And I mean, I don't know how that brings balance in your life, but I think it does.
Well, I would say that, you know, I've had a couple of things happen where you know, like when I was at ACE, my best friend passed away, and my father went in the hospital, and my sister was diagnosed with cancer. And I would say that it was in that time that I realized that I was making a lot of other people a lot of money, and I didn't have a lot of time to myself. And I decided to make some changes. I started a historic theater consulting company called Theater Doctors that I still have clients. I'm working currently on the Carolina Theater in North Carolina and Charlotte. I decided to make a big life change, and part of that has been discovering what it is that I need, because I had this idea that I needed this big career and it was going to be everything, and it still is. It's just different. It's on my terms. I mean, I moved up to Santa Barbara because I wake up every day and I walk to the ocean, and I have a beach cruiser, and I read scripts on the beach, and I'm part of an outrigger canoeing group.
Is moving to Santa Barbara then? That's your answer.
Well, I mean, I would say that's yeah, and no one else can come. No, I think it's
right.
I think it's about deciding that you're good enough to do something for yourself. And I think when my last employer made $50 million on something and that was profit on something that I sort of gave my heart and soul to, I realized that I would like to make a change and find a way to do that for myself and for people that I love and care about. And I think Marwen Films is my attempt at not only trying to sustain my vitality, but to do it in a way that's soulful, that's thoughtful, that brings something into the world that makes it a better place. And I think
amazing.
I'm very privileged to even be able to say that out loud. And I realized when my best friend died that life is short, and we have no idea when we're going to go. And so fear is very real, but we can look at it and thank it and say, I appreciate you, and I'm going to go forth anyway and do what my heart tells me to do, because it's you know, I'm making it sound like a Disney movie, but it's not. It's making a choice to commit to yourself and to making the world a place that you want to live in. And I think that as women, when we can look at it that way, it's so much easier to find our voices, because
fantastic.
You know, when you raise the water, all the boats float. So
that is a great place to pause.
I can't tell you how much fun this was. We should do this all the time.
I know. What are you doing next month? Hey, tell us where, before we pass back to Amy, I'm going to see if she's ready for a handoff here. Tell us where we can listen to White Woke and when that's going to be popping up for us.
I know that there's a couple that are already there, and we're actually, I think we're in a website migration right this second. But it's I think it's right now it's a Wix site. Hold on a second.
And then we'll be looking for Marwen Films up and coming.
Yeah.
We're excited. And everybody's going to say, oh, I know Margaret, because I listened to her on the Spotlight on her webinar series.
It's KANTONIA.wixsite WIXSITE.com/whitewoke. So
say that again. And you know what? We'll send that out in our email. So
yeah,
we'll let people know when we send the follow-up email out that'll have the link. thank you to everybody. So what we're going to do, Margaret, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Tons of fun, and I can't believe the hour went by this quickly, although I probably should be able to believe that.
No, but just in closing, I just want to say, I know, I brought up a lot of things that were difficult, but I want women to know that, difficult doesn't mean impossible, and you just have to have a will to try to get there. So
that's it.
My last word.
Hey, thank you so much. You had a ton of good last words, actually. And to the listeners, I'm going to do my best to pass it back to Amy. And if in the event she's not there, I'll grab it right back, and we'll just be looking for the next couple. Oh, look at her. She's amazing. She was listening. I'm going to hit. Do I even have to hit change presenter? Can you speak, Amy? Hello? We can't hear you. No. She said, hold, please. I'm going to go ahead and make you. Oh, are you there? No, I'm going to try making her the presenter, and then maybe she can talk.
Thanks so much, Lynn.
Thanks.
TicketForce is the best. TicketForce is the best.
Yeah.
Margaret's the best.
Oh,
Margaret's the best. Hey, Amy, so where are you now?
I'm right outside the box.
Uh-oh, looks like
see the Senate Transformers
up
again.
Let
me see.
There we go. Maybe just talk to us a little bit without the webcam. Okay, you good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, no, I'm good. I'm actually standing on I don't know if I'm supposed to be standing here. Actually, I should probably get down.
Were you up high?
Yeah, I was on a wall. But
okay.
I'm gonna walk into the box office. Maybe that'll help too, so you guys can see it too as well.
Okay. Excellent.
See, we're all here. Gang's all here.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Where all the action takes place. Everybody that's on the call is, you're feeling it now. It's great.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Amy, thank you so much for hosting from down there. Any closing words that you have for everybody on, I don't know if you were able to listen to Margaret's interview, but we appreciate so much you being down there and sharing the excitement. We all wish we could be there. Any closing words that you have for us?
I'm just pumped. I'm ready to get this day started over here. I'm going to go try to see some of the films actually.
Nice.
But no, I really enjoyed it. I had a really great time listening to Margaret. I always do.
Yeah. Well, hey, if you're listening and you want to go check out the lineup, it's BentonvilleFilmFestival.com. Did I get the web address right there, Amy?
Yeah, the schedule's on there.
Yeah, and the whole schedule's on there. You can take a look at the films that are showing and keep an eye out for them because they curate an amazing collection of films. And you'll be seeing them, you'll be finding them on, whether it's on Netflix or showing in theaters, but BentonvilleFilmFestival.com, great lineup and some not to be missed films there. Thanks, Amy. We appreciate it so much. I'm going to bring it back here, and we're just going to very quickly take a look at our last little bit of our next upcoming webinars. So we are now doing monthly webinars. So we're going to have product updates and news every month. So our next webinar will be on June 6th, and we will give you more alerts about that, but please flag that where you'll hear product news and updates. July has 2 conferences and a holiday, so we're sort of skipping over that month and giving everybody a summer break. And then we'll be back in August, and we're going to be doing a quarterly roundup of industry updates and trends. That'll be technology trends, like what might be going on with mobile ticketing or what's going on in the industry wide as well. So please be sure to keep your calendars marked, and we'll keep those posted for you. But we are now doing webinars every month, and we're going to rotate between the Spotlight on Her series, keeping you up to date with product news, and then giving you industry updates and marketing updates. And if you have anything you want us to cover, that would be helpful for you in your box office, in your venue, in your event or organization, please do just drop us a line and let us know. We do want to hear from you. I'm super excited. Again, thank you to Margaret Lake. Thank you to Amy down at Bentonville Film Festival. Thank you to all of you for listening and sharing, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.